Hi, everyone. Welcome to the closing keynote of FamilyCon 2022. I really hope that all of you have enjoyed your time this weekend and that you've learned more about CF and came away with new connections and new friends. I'd love to know what your favorite part of FamilyCon has been, so please let us know in the chat area under the stage tab. So, as a reminder, my name's Alex Gant. I'm one of your co chairs along with John Schroeder, and I'm incredibly honored to introduce you to this keynote. This is what CF looks like. Cystic fibrosis is not a one size fits all disease, and the model of what CF is supposed to look like is completely outdated. People with CF are different nationalities, cultures, genders, and religions. They can be post transplant, part of the LGBT community, doing great on modulators, or have a nonsense mutation and can't benefit from them. CF is often called an invisible disease, but it should never be invisible to others in the community. Whatever your connection to CF is, we want you to know that we see you. You are seen, you are heard, and your story matters. With that being said, I'm pleased to introduce you to Amita, a mother of a teenager with CF who had quite an interesting journey getting a diagnosis for her daughter, and Maura, a 44-year-old wife and mom of twins living with CF after two double lung transplants. Take it away, Amita.
Thank you, Alex. Hello, everyone. I am really honored to be here to share our story. My name is Amita Mahajan, and I'm a CF mom to a daughter named Riddhi. My husband and I were born and raised in India, and we moved to US in the 90s. Um, who is Riddhi? Riddhi is a 15-year-old high schooler who loves school. She likes spending time with her older brother. She participates in various sports just to enjoy them, whether or not she is good at them. She has a black belt in Taekwondo. She sings, plays guitar, ukulele, knits, and crochets cute little toys. Our family's birthdays are incomplete without her beautiful handmade cards. She enjoys each and every moment of her precious life. She volunteers with the local CF Foundation chapter in a lot of ways to raise awareness and fundraising. She wants to study medicine and hopes to help a lot of people in future. When I was pregnant with Riddhi in 2006, I remember filling out the questionnaire where one of the questions asked if I wanted to get screened for cystic fibrosis. I did not know what CF was at the time. The little description mentioned that it is most commonly found in Caucasian population. Assuming it did not apply to us, I just checked no. Riddhi was born in December of 2006, and doctors noticed an abnormality. Her stomach was severely distended. Within the first 12 hours of her life, she had a major intestinal surgery. Riddhi had twisted intestines, and the doctors took out a small piece of her intestine where it was knotted and thus ended up having an ostomy. A month later, she was connected. Within the first year of her life, she actually had a total of 5 surgeries. Every time she would be obstructed, she would have a surgery. She displayed many symptoms commonly found in CF, such as malabsorption and frequent intestinal obstructions. Unfortunately, no one thought of testing her for CF. Now, this could be because CF was extremely rare in the Indian population. After all, it is found in 1 in 31,000 Asian Americans, making it extremely rare within this ethnic group. Riddhi spent almost 6 months in the NICU. My husband and I were fearful as to whether or not we would ever be able to bring Riddhi home. At the peak of our confusion and not having a proper diagnosis added to our unbearable stress and anguish we felt at the time. After about a year and a half, we received a second opinion. The doctor recognized that Riddhi's problems went beyond the GI issues, and upon additional testing, she found out that Riddhi had cystic fibrosis. We were provided with genetic counseling and all the information about CF. And so our journey with CF began. Now, this diagnosis story shows that CF is not limited to a specific race or ethnicity as was believed in the past. Um, Now, 15 years into her life, Riddhi does her breathing treatments, takes many medications every day, and ends up being hospitalized multiple times during a year. But that is all a part of living with CF. CF may be a big part of her life, but if you take one look at her, you would know that CF does not and cannot define her. Through all the struggles, she still manages to find roses among the lifetime of thorns. Although each family has a unique CF story, we realized that we are not alone. We are a part of this huge CF community where there is a plenty of love for all the families. It doesn't matter what ethnic backgrounds we have. Everyone's focus is the same: find a cure. Now, countless number of hours put in by the researchers, medical professionals, all the hard work by the CF Foundation, and selfless volunteers have improved the quality of life for the people living with CF by leaps and bounds. Riddhi is one of the 10% of the CF population who do not qualify for modulator. But now we are a part of this big loving family, and that's why we can dare to hope. We now hope that yes, there would be a cure for every person living with CF. And yes, they can fulfill their dreams. We pray not just for our own little family, but for all the families who are on this journey with us. Events like this are a great reminder and also an opportunity to express my gratitude to each and every one of you attending today. Thank you. Now, I would like to pass on to Maura, who would share her CF journey with you all.
Thank you so much. I really am happy to be here today. I'm very honored to be speaking with you. And I just wanted to share a little bit about my story. Like Riddhi, actually, I was diagnosed at birth. I had holes in my intestines and had meconium ileus. And when I was born, actually, my parents were not aware of cystic fibrosis. So needless to say, the diagnosis was a shock to them. Living life with cystic fibrosis for me and for my family was normal. It was part of our everyday life. We got to do things that our friends did or our family members did, and our life was quote unquote normal. As the disease progressed, I did get sicker. And when I was a young mom and married, living in New York City, the doctor came in and discussed transplant with me. I really, at that point in time, did not think that a transplant was on the horizon. However, when they came and presented it, I do have to say there was a calmness about it. My husband was there with me. He just happened to be there. And we felt really calm after speaking to the doctor. That year when I was doing my transplant workup, unfortunately, I got very, very sick. My health declined rapidly. And the last portion of the transplant workup was done in an ICU. As you can see from some of the photos, I was on ECMO prior to the first transplant. I needed lungs in order to save my life. I was dying. I was transplanted at Columbia Presbyterian in New York City, and the doctors and nurses, the team there, I cannot say more wonderful things about them. They literally saved my life, and I like to say that they put Humpty Dumpty back together again. The life after my first transplant months, I lost all my hair. I was down to 70 pounds. I had to learn to walk again. I aspirated quite a few times. And it was very, very difficult. I had young children at the time, as you can see, and we missed birthdays, we missed Thanksgivings, we missed Christmases. Oftentimes they would come to the gift shop to get their presents from mom because I was in the ICU. So a lot of time was spent in the ICU and at Columbia Presbyterian, not only for those 6 months post-transplant, but most of that first year after the transplant. Then on December 30th of 2013, the second call came from my second transplant, and that was a godsend. I do remember the call coming. I was in the ICU at the time, and it was the miracle that we were hoping for. We knew that my first lungs were kind of a life preserver to get me to that second set of lungs that I needed so badly. My first set of lungs actually were rejected from some centers, but my transplant team took them because they knew that I wasn't going to last much longer. The second set of lungs, however, were perfect. I actually remember my transplant doctor coming in on her day off to say that the lungs looked so great and they were so happy. So thus began my journey with a second set of lungs. After waking up in the ICU post-surgery, they get you up out of bed pretty quickly. They want you to start your rehab, start walking, get you off all of your ventilators and all that good stuff. And I do remember walking around the ICU with my husband, and something came over me. It was the first time in my life that I was able to breathe normally. It was not a CF breath. It was not a post-first transplant breath. It was a very deep breath. And it was rigorous, really. It was, really hard to keep walking around, but it was also wonderful just to be able to have that feeling. I would say that I always knew, having CF, that a transplant was probably on the horizon. I certainly did not think that it was going to be in my early 30s. I definitely did not think I was going to need a second transplant. I think that's where the kind of CF is not one size fits all comes in. Throughout my life, like I said, I was extremely healthy. I was into everything my friends were into. There was nothing that we didn't do growing up. Went to college, got a job, got married, had children. And it was shocking to go through, the transplant workup, et cetera, at such a young age. And then to have a second one so closely after was even a bigger shock. Obviously both transplants were different, but I'm so grateful that I had both of them. I would never change my experience. It was extremely hard, but we always had hope. We never lost hope, which was huge for our family. Not only my husband and my children, but also my extended family and my friends and all the people in the hospital who we actually kind of became family with. And it's interesting to hear people talk about modulators. So I do remember after one of my transplants, I said to my husband, if I could have just waited, if I could have just not have gotten sick for a few more years and went on and gotten the correct modulator for myself, I probably wouldn't have needed the transplant. Right now I am on Trikafta, and even though it does not affect my lungs, because my lungs no longer have CF, it does affect my sinuses. It has cleared them, thank goodness. And it's allowed me to gain weight, which has been extremely difficult to do just with having CF and also taking a lot of medications for transplantation. So that's my story. And, I'm so appreciative to be here and speak to you and, give you some insight about transplantation, post-transplantation, and having CF, And, I appreciate you listening. And now I will send it back to Alex.
Amita and Maura, thank you both so much for sharing your stories with us. I'd also like to do a quick shout out to our planning committee and all of the speakers and facilitators. Thank you so much for giving your time to us over these last few months. We truly could not do these events without you. Now I'd like to introduce a special video by the SingSpire Virtual Choir. Made up of singers of all ages living with cystic fibrosis from around the globe, the SingSpire Virtual Choir comes together as one voice to defy their diagnosis. Performing original pieces, the SingSpire Virtual Choir was born from one of the CF Foundation's first Impact Grant recipients. SingSpire is a program by Breathe Bravely, which was founded by Ashley Ballou Banema. I hope you enjoy this original, powerful work of art, No One Walks Alone. I think it truly brings together our theme of unity, both from this keynote and all of this FamilyCon in general. Once the video concludes, the last sessions of FamilyCon will take place at 6:15 p.m. Eastern, and they will include different activities for participants to focus on their wellness, including a reframing self-care workshop and a panel discussion around gaming and wellness. Thank you all again so much for joining us at 2022 CF FamilyCon.
What if the roads we choose were left to chance instead of